Guys, I want to look at something and I don't know what it was. This?
How are you doing?
Nothing feels better than winning when people are patiently waiting to see you fail. Dan,
What's
you've
up,
lost 1
Cal?
million followers in the last 12 months, seen your stock price plummet so low you had to take it off the stock exchange, and now spend the rest of your time copying Andrew Tate.
Yeah, we're gonna start a website called Sigma Society.
While rambling about politics on Twitter. This is basically the definition of failure, and here's exactly how.
Guys, I saw this guy at the fucking slap thing at UFC. I saw him. He was guys, something that I didn't know. He was like really short, like about this short. But this short is a short guy. I thought he was like super big.
Bilzerian took his company Ignite public at a price of $2.50 per share back in January 2019, a time at which his career was going perfectly. His Instagram was gaining 400,000 followers per month. He was living in a $65 million mansion, and most importantly, everybody believed that his lifestyle was real. That would be until July 2020, 18 months after Ignite started, when Dan fired Ignite's vice president, who then sued Dan Bilzerian for unfair dismissal, in the process completely exposing his phony business model. For starters, the lawsuit explained that Dan Bilzerian hadn't actually paid $65 million for his mansion, but the property was rather rented for $2.4 million per year. On top of this, it was shown that Bilzerian paid for the travel expenses of the rotating cast of models that permanently accompany Bilzerian wherever he goes, despite Dan consistently stating that the girls were there voluntarily.
Do you pay these girls to come?
No. That's, okay, so
that's the big misconception,
yeah, I'm
right?
addressing that on my app.
However, the craziest part of the lawsuit outlined Dan's strange expenses, including $75,000 on a paintball field, $40,000 on a rock climbing wall, $60,000 on a Star Wars gun set, $31,000 on pool renovations, $50,000 on a bed frame, $15,000 on a ping pong table, and $88,000 on a vault, just to name a few. It was also stated that some business expenses charged to Ignite were for household items, groceries, and luxury yacht rentals, with a different former employee stating Ignite pays for everything. Models, events, yachts. Dan would just have it wrapped with the Ignite logo, and all of a sudden it was an Ignite expense, and he would send them the bill. Pools, trampolines, the employee added. His personal events that had nothing to do with the business. Dan responded by stating, some journalist said Ignite was funding my life. Bitch, I've been going hard for 10 years and been famous for going hard for 7. I started Ignite 2 years ago, raised around 100 mil, and I own the majority of the company, suck my dick, although his arrogant response failed to dismiss anything, especially the company's atrocious financial reports. Dan had spent a total of $69 million during Ignite's first year in business, which was offset by only $9.7 million in sales. Given the previously mentioned lawsuit explained how terribly this money was spent, Ignite's stock price plummeted.
Chat, if he overrepresents how good of a company it is, whatever, and it's kind of done maliciously, and then investors inject cash and he wastes all of it, right? I mean, isn't that like still legal? If they just do poorly in the business or whatever, it's kind of like fraud, but like, no.
Plummeted by almost 90% from $2.50 to a low of 28 cents in October 2020. As the media began to report on Dan's losses, he'd respond by stating Uber is worth $80 billion. It has never had a profitable month since.
Okay, then what about Overwatch League then? Because I mean, it was predictably fucking dog shit, and people injected a lot of fucking money and cash into it. It wasn't going anywhere, dude. And there was a lot of spending. There was a fuck ton of spending. I mean, shit.
It started, and it lost over $5 billion in one quarter last year. However, Ignite's financial losses weren't even the worst part. Ignite only had an audience because of Dan's extravagant life, which as a result of the lawsuit had been exposed as rented. His lifestyle was once mysterious and intriguing, but it lost its edge as soon as people—
No, I get it. I guess if you disguise the trash good enough and you cover all your grounds, it's not fraud, right? But if you do it poorly and you do dumb shit like spending on fucking bullshit, then it's fraud.
Realized it was just another business. On top of this, the whole mega rich guy on Instagram shtick was cool in 2014, but by 2020, everybody knew it was complete baloney, which began to reflect in Dan's Instagram statistics. In May 2020, Dan almost completely stopped posting to Instagram, and by the end of the year, he'd begun to lose followers. In the meantime, the media speculated that he'd soon file for bankruptcy, to which Dan clapped back by tweeting a skeleton with the caption, "Or the dumbass journalist patiently waiting for Ignite to go bankrupt. Dan was right, Ignite wasn't filing for bankruptcy, but that didn't mean that things were going well. After losing $69 million in 2019, Ignite lost a further $19.7 million in 2020, during which the media released another strange detail. Dan Bilzerian's dad was supposedly running Ignite from behind the scenes. Now this was a problem for one main reason. Paul Bilzerian was a convicted felon who was legally prohibited from participating in publicly traded companies.
Oh no.
He'd spent a year in jail for fraud in the 90s, leading Dan to pretend that they weren't that close.
I talked to him probably 4 or 5 times a year.
However, according to one article, Paul Bilzerian has taken a less shadowy role within the company, sending thousands of emails between himself and other top executives at Ignite. This was only speculation at the time, but if Paul was in fact running the company, he was starting to do something.
He's just running his dog shit through the sun, dude. That's classic.
Right.
I mean, that's
despite losing
$19.7
million in 2020, Ignite actually recorded a profit in their final quarter, leading Dan to tweet, "Ignite announces a profitable fourth quarter." I guess the press and the dumb YouTubers were wrong, shocking, the reason for which being explained in a Forbes article. For one, Ignite cut costs, slashing a promotional budget by nearly 75%. Pandemics meant fewer parties, and for Ignite that meant a chance at profit. As economic conditions improved in early 2021, the price of Dan's stock began to recover rapidly, quadrupling from 28 cents per share in October 2020 to $1.13 only 1 year later. In the process, Ignite increased its revenue from $16.9 million in 2020 to 78.
What they even sell? Don't these guys like sell weed? And then I these guys sold like weed related products. That's it. Is that what they do? Vape of weed. Zaza?
$8 million in 2021, at which point Dan made the claim that he wanted to sell the company.
$2 billion would be nice, because then I get over $1 billion.
However, the chance of achieving this kind of money began to look unlikely, as the value of Dan's company began to fall off a cliff. The recovery made by Dan in 2021 was completely reversed throughout 2022, owed in part to one particular incident. The SEC is suing Ignite Brands Ltd for failing to produce documents as it attempts to pursue an accounting fraud investigation. According to the SEC case, SEC staff have uncovered information indicating that respondents may have filed public financial statements that include false or misleading representations regarding revenues earned and recognized in the company's fiscal year ending December 1st, 2020.
That's
on top of potentially
cooked,
falsifying their revenue, the suit also revealed that Ignite was under criminal investigation for something unrelated. As a result, the stock was headed toward a new record low. However, Dan was able to fix this problem by removing Ignite from the stock exchange altogether. He provided no explanation for the company's removal. However, just 2 months later, media publication MJ Biz Daily somehow managed to interview Dan Bilzerian's dad, who said he is now serving as an unpaid advisor to his son's company and was speaking on behalf of Ignite because Dan was unavailable to comment.
So
It stated there is no reason to have a public company unless you intend to raise capital from public markets, before going on to state, though Ignite was publicly traded, about 90% of the company's shares are owned by Dan and friends. Dan likely thought that as a public figure, he should have a public company, although this structure...
Wait. Now they have motive and shit, right? So if he boosted the fucking stock price, right? And then they have the shares, if they sold it, could have been like a pump and dump?
Provided no real
illegal?
benefit, and instead delivered unwanted attention from governing bodies and the media. Despite this, it was reported in March 2023 that Dan was still refusing to cooperate with governing bodies, and while Ignite's privatization means
it's not, because that's what I did with your mother
is no longer public, it doesn't really seem as though business has improved. Dan recently bragged on Ignite's Instagram by stating, "Best-selling vapes in South America," although the very top comment was, "Bro, I love you, but I never seen anyone smoking that." Ignite's Twitter page gets about 30 likes per post. The company's official TikTok page has under 4,000 followers, while Dan Bilzerian's personal social media isn't looking so healthy either. His main Instagram page is losing 100,000 followers per month, owed in part to his complete inactivity, only uploading every once in a blue moon. When he does post, all of the most popular comments state,
last pause chat, guys, in the current year, growing a business on like these social medias, I feel like Instagram and Twitter, it's pretty fucking dead. Okay, it's like impossible. I feel like a lot of companies, they use TikTok and other shit to like cross boost, but just on these socials, things are not organically growing at all. This is on Twitter.
So sad you have to pay for having ladies around you, haha. Lol, such a sad life, and I don't know why I still follow this dude. In January 2021, Bilzerian was asked, Dan, why are you barely active over Instagram recently? To which he'd respond with, cause I just finished the 25th edit of my book. It's finally done. Yet Dan failed to return to Instagram after the book's release. However, only a couple of months ago on the Skinny Confidential podcast, Dan gave an updated explanation for why he'd quit everything.
I just don't care. Like, I feel like social media is like a video game I beat like 8 years ago, and I'm like, everybody's playing the same game. I'm like tired of playing it. Like, I look at social media like a cancer. Like, to me, I think it's the worst thing to be happening to society. So I just like, it just cringe to perpetuate that problem.
Cheated, though.
Dan seems quite resentful.
Yeah, but he cheated. Of course, it's gonna feel hollow to gain normal results on social media when he cheated. Like, guys, he had like models show up and paid them and whatever, and he had all like the things that people like, but he kind of paid for it, so he kind of got like, guys, what do you guys say? Says you on what? I had that shit social media. That's social media. Of course, when you post solo shit and you post your own life, it's gonna feel like it's not very rewarding, dude.
Over his social media career and is perhaps sick of being hated. However, I can't imagine his next venture will make that.
It's cheating because it's manufacturing everything. That's what I'm telling you. It's just they fully manufacture everything. And at one point, it's just gonna feel like when you don't full manufacture, it's gonna feel hollow, yo. What the fuck?
Any better. After seemingly spending a bit too much time with Andrew Tate, Dan Bilzerian is working on his own alpha male course and website called Sigma Society.
The thing I'm working on right now is a site where it's basically gonna like teach guys kind of like
Sigma?
What's that? Yeah.
Sigma?
Yeah, it's gonna like teach guys how to be guys. You know, I feel like this generation has kind of like lost that.
And while such a venture would surely find an audience, it feels like a last-ditch unoriginal money grab, which is almost always a sign of having nothing left.
Guys, you know what? Guys, I need to know how to guy. Guys, I kind of lost my touch, I think.
Henry Kissinger, one of the most...
Anyway,